go.
All right. Well, here we are again. Combat-based garage in Redondo Beach.
Welcome back.
We are with the venerable Chris Haueter,
The legend.
the first American to compete in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championship
Yes, but I lost,
black
so
belt.
it's not that
as
important.
a black belt.
But I was the first black belt to compete in the Mundials.
Yes. And then we're with
American.
the CEO of the combat-based
The boss.
El-
AKA the boss.
club, El Jefe.
El Jefe.
Does that work?
La Jefa?
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right, yeah.
We got John behind the lens. Bingo. I'm Tobin, the producer.
The producer.
And today we have an epic guest, Dean Wellen.
Welcome, Dean.
What's up, Dino?
Yeah. So,
What's up?
dude, we're super stoked to have you on the podcast. Happy to just see you in general.
Thank you, bro.
And we got a lot of stuff we want to hear about. We want to hear about the Gracie University system. We want to hear about Tac-Div, your clothing company. We want to hear about Dude, Where's My Belt podcast. We want to hear about kids skating, kids jiu-jitsu, and we want to hear about a story of a guy that was born in the South Bay, born into jiu-jitsu, and really it seems to me like you're kind of that first batch of kids jiu-jitsu in America, really. I mean, you're the first group of kids where you kind of like
Kids grew up doing this. Yeah.
grew up in jiu-jitsu in America. So it's kind of a cool story, and I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, man. So
Awesome.
we're just happy to see you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
I've been following up with the pod, and you guys are crushing it. And I heard you guys say on Mother's Day you didn't have training here. And it wasn't always like that. We used to train every Sunday. We never missed. Christmas Eve, we'd always make it happen.
We did.
But
Yep.
then we had kids.
Well,
You became a mother.
even when the kids were on the mat.
But they were little. See, once
Yeah.
kids grow up, they start having an opinion and they
Yeah.
start saying, oh, I don't like the fact that all these weird dudes are sweating at my house all the time. It's a thing.
But there were, I think, like 3 Mother's Days in a row we trained together. And then you're like, Dean, you're my jiu-jitsu son. I'm like, you're like
Aw.
my jiu-jitsu mom.
Yeah, I know. Things have changed. Now I've got my own teenager with her own opinions. And
That is such a trip. I was talking about it with Sophia. We have like this ladder bookshelf. Also, too, former combat-based resident. And anytime I talk about that, people think I lived in the garage, but I was renting out that house.
some
and,
people have lived in the garage.
Yeah. So I'm like, no, I'm
Some
established.
people have lived in that little loft.
Yes, in that little loft.
Nads was saying he used to sleep on the couch. There was a couch
Yeah,
there.
there was
We
a
used to have a couch
couch.
there for a while, yeah.
Yep.
But I was building this ladder bookshelf, and Allison was coming in. She was helping me with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I took a little video, and I was like, this is Allison. I sent it to Sophia. And then I think in one of your stories, we saw a clip of her. I'm like, dude, this is Allison now. And she's like, that little girl? I was like,
Yeah.
We all grow up.
Yeah. We blink our eyes. That's the thing about youth is it seems so long, but it's actually the shortest period of your life.
Yeah.
But it's the most impactful.
Yeah, it's that perception thing
Yep.
where, like, in a pie chart, like 5 minutes of a kid's life is like this much.
Yeah.
But then, like, 5 years in our life is like,
Like that much.
Yeah.
Yep.
so it's crazy now. Like, there's no such thing as being bored because of phones. But I just remember being a kid of like, oh, it's going to be 5 minutes. And I was like, I have to wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my kids get bored.
Yep. Waiting in a line. I was thinking that when we were at an amusement park last year and just looking at the crowd, how everyone's on their phone. Like, and I think the healthy thing is like they're playing the charades on the phone.
Yeah,
Whatever.
heads up.
But I mean, there's a good thing about that phone. When
Yeah.
you're waiting, you don't have to wait anymore. You're at the DMV, whatever. You're like reading what you want to read.
You're
or
always
Yeah.
working. We've had this
TikToking,
conversation
or
before.
always working. Yep.
We never stop because we got that computer in the pocket.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's cool too. Like, there's been times I've been teaching techniques, and I'm showing the move, and this is probably like my fault starting off as an instructor, is I do a lot more than I say I'm doing. And so I have like a couple students would be like, oh, you're shrimping out right there, where to me it's just jiu-jitsu is so natural feeling.
Yes.
So it's been such like a like relearning just how to vocalize it. But with Gracie University, there's been times where like I'm showing a move and something's not clicking, and I just run to my phone, put the video on like ×4 speed, and Henner already talks fast, so that's like crazy. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, okay, that one little detail. And then I go and re-show the move, and then everyone picks it up. And yeah, it's such like a cool tool to have like everything in your pocket.
Do you get that? So you're opening a CTC.
Yes,
Right.
Long Beach. Gracie Jiu Jitsu Long Beach. Hopefully we're open by the time this episode comes out, picking up the keys next Tuesday.
That's
Wow.
exciting, man. Congratulations.
awesome. Yeah.
That's a big
And
deal.
it's phase 1. So I'm having a gym. It's going to be like 800, probably like 800, 900 square feet of mat. And then the goal is to grow it up and then eventually find like a more established spot. And when I do that, I thought of an idea. And yeah, so I feel very like dual lineage with where I'm at right now between this garage and Gracie University. And I was like, how sick would it be if, you know, the private rooms at Gracie University, if I had like a speakeasy private room and it was decked out like the garage,
Oh, that
That would
be
be
dope.
sick.
and then if it's like the secret room.
That would be very dope. A lot of times I'm asked if like people, did you model your garage after the original Gracie garage? And it's like, technically there's 3 original Gracie garages, but no.
Yeah, you
M-
think
m-
it looked like this? I
the
don't think
garage happened because rent in LA is too high.
Yeah.
Is ultimately the answer, right? And when you have a garage, you might as well grapple in it.
Yeah.
So. Well,
But there's more to it, yeah.
you wanted this to be your workshop. I had to convince
Yeah.
him to make this a mat room. We've talked about that
Yeah.
before. Yeah, it was convincing, and he was like, "Okay, I'll make half of the garage a mat, and the other half's going to be my workshop."
Yeah.
And we did that for a couple of years, and I was like, "Chris, come on! How often are you workshopping, and how often are we grappling? We can have twice as many people if we extend the mat."
It's true.
And then in 2007, this was established, and then I don't know if it was sometime around then or after that you started coming around. You were a blue belt.
Oh, yeah, I came here as a blue belt.
A child. You were
Scrappy,
under
young-
18, right?
Yeah.
No, I think I was 19 at the time.
Oh, really?
A scrappy, young, agile blue belt.
Yeah, and we'll kind of jump back and forth, but the story with that was I had been training at Krohn's for a while, and Krohn at the time was shifting over to more an MMA focus, and I still wanted just very pure jiu-jitsu-ist. And then Brian Phillips was like, hey, there's this place in Redondo, only black belts train there, but I think you'll fit in. And then yeah, we came here one night. I think it was December. I should have came prepared. I was 19. It was in December, and I rolled with Chris. And I think we hit it off because my game's very like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu foundation, but then all like the fun little tricks. And we were rolling. And you went to throw a strike, and I was so quick to go into like what we call stage 1, which is head control overhook. And you're like, oh, this kid's like he's street minded, even though we are playing the sport, and us both being under 150. Well, I mean, you're like,
I'm $170 now.
yeah, you're always like 220 in my mind though. And I think our chemistry just really hit it off. And then I was doing Crohn's in here just on the weekends, and then I remember hearing like, yeah, Chris teaches on the weekdays, and then Andy Horry was like, bro, why don't you just come over full time? Because that drive to Culver City, Palos Verdes wasn't making it. And yeah, I feel like kind of the rest is history. And at that time, I was a blue belt for like 5 years. So it was cool. And I feel like at the time, it was really like mostly black belts on the mat.
There was a lot of upper belts.
Yeah.
It still is.
It still is, yeah. Yeah.
And being so Gracie traditionalist coming up, seeing the way that like, anytime I'd ask like, hey, what's like, how do I stop De La Hiva? Or like, I got caught into this lasso in a tournament. And Crone was just like, that doesn't work. Try it on me. And I'm like, I don't even know what it is, but... And I just wasn't getting the answers I was looking for. And then you were like, oh, yeah, this, that. And you just really, like, helped complete my game to where I feel like I've had so many instructors, but you were really, like, my first, like, coach. Like, first person that ever showed up at a tournament for me. I mean, I've probably done, like, 100 tournaments up to that point, and I was always just going solo. And,
Yeah,
I'm forever grateful for you, brother.
I kind of think, and because you're closer to it now, I'm so far from it, but I seem to notice, and I believe within myself, that purple belt, from the time you get your purple belt through your brown, is the most critical growth period of your game. Like that's your 14 to 18 as an adult. The belt where you find your strengths, find where you're weak, you develop a style if you're going to have one, and physically that's when you grow into a grappler. A blue belt wearing a coat and tie looks like anyone else. A purple belt wearing a coat and tie looks like a grappler wearing a coat and tie. That's when you change. There's that purple belt phase.
And that phase, you guys are working together a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, it was huge. And then I ended up getting my purple and brown through you. But I feel like it was cool here being so unsuspecting, just wearing a blue belt. But like I went through yellow, orange, and green. I got my yellow belt at the Machados back in 1999. And like at headquarters, when they gave me my blue belt, they gave it to me with 2 stripes on it. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm already there. But like, but still I had so much like kid jiu-jitsu to now, like whenever I roll with people, I'm like, dude, you roll like a child. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the second you lose your base, you just sit down. I'm like, no, like stay on top and like fight for top. And it's so cool to now like be able to relay everything that you've taught me to students. And now I'm just seeing like my students like golden rules of grappling, and they're all like snapping in, and I'm like,
funny.
bro, I got to bring everyone to the garage. You got to meet the man.
From your experience growing up as a kid doing jiu-jitsu around here, like you said, you trained at the Machados and you had these like really awesome early training experiences. What was some of the training environments that you felt like were most beneficial for you as a kid? Because what I'm experiencing with my kids is that there's like a variety of different scenarios and scenes for kids jiu-jitsu.
There sure is.
And it's really hard when you have kids. Like, you can want your kids to be a certain thing, but you really get what you get. And it's a mistake to try to like stuff them into a box that they don't fit into. And you're trying to like discover what that is. And at the same time, your kids are trying to please you and your expectations of them. So it's a little unclear exactly what they are, right? They're still developing into something. And so I'm, as a parent, I'm trying to place my kids in the right jiu-jitsu environment for them to be successful, which for me means that they're going to have an enjoyable experience that's going to develop their spirit and personality in a healthy way. And so there's a bunch of different things that you can do out there. And what were some of the environments that you felt like were most beneficial? And what were some of the environments that you felt like were harmful for you or made jiu-jitsu seem less appealing as a kid? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I can't not mention right now you're killing it as a father. Just
thanks, man.
knowing that, where I feel like kind of it was older, it was, nope, you're fitting in this box, whether it's I want you to be a lawyer, I want you to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And yeah, I feel pretty fortunate. I don't know how well I can answer that because I did start training before I could remember. And like my earliest memories were like one at a Gracie kids camp in 1998. I was running and another kid was running, and yeah, we collided and I chipped my tooth. And then I looked at him and blood was like spraying out.
Oh.
Like 4-year-old memory, but I just remember, and like, yeah, that was a whole situation. But like I just remember it was just very fun. And then same thing, like my family at the time started shifting from headquarters to the Machado Academy just because it was a better environment. And Ryan Gregg was teaching all the kids classes. And
Ryan was a great kids instructor back then.
He's just a great person. I'm
Yeah,
doing
he is.
so much work with him right now. We'll get
love
into
Ryan.
that. But yeah, I just remember jiu-jitsu being very fun. I do remember a lot of like getting crushed by older people for sure. I remember like crying. I have a video of like a tournament where John Jock, I lost. He's the ref. John Jock reffing kids tournament. It's like,
Yeah.
and he raises the other kid's hand, but I raised my hand, and I was so embarrassed as a little kid. I remember you see in the video, like I go like this, and I remember just like biting my arm, just being like, oh, like bad Dolby, stupid Dolby. And then
Don't worry, bro. I did that as an adult.
Oh, I bit someone as an adult. All right.
I like it. Get down. But yeah, so my earliest memories, it's not really too like, I can't really speak on like the different training environments. It was just always very fun. And that's something now that I teach, or whenever I talk to parents, where it's like, you get, oh yeah, I just watched UFC, I want my son to be a fighter. Or like you get like, oh, my son's getting bullied. And I mean, you just hear every story you can imagine of why people bring them onto the mats. Shout out to Rogan. I heard on another podcast a jiu-jitsu owner saying, I need to buy that guy a steak dinner for all the business he sent me. And I'm in the same boat where just like, yeah, I heard this is the best for kids. And I'm like, yeah, bring them by. Yeah. But the three things I talk about are, and same thing with skateboarding, it's let's have a safe environment.
That's what I was going to say. That's number one with kids.
Yeah, so your kids can come and train multiple days a week.
And not just physically safe, emotionally safe.
Yeah, well then...
And there are schools that are not emotionally safe for kids, I think.
So let's have it physically safe. Let's have it fun. Let's make it so they can come back, but let's make it so they want to come back.
Yeah.
And if that means like I'm seeing a kid who's like having a bad time, I'm like, yo, here, jump on my back. You're going to be my instructor today. Or like, every kid's so different. And then the last thing out of the three is jiu-jitsu. Like that's my least concern, is getting your kid good at jiu-jitsu as his jiu-jitsu instructor.
Yes.
Which seems crazy, but it's like, that's just going to come in time.
Yep.
I've seen it. When a kid's 7 years old, I don't need to be like, watch out. You're opening up your knee for a perfect De La Hiva guard. People are going to deep lace you. And it's like, no. Let's just have it. And then I see the growth and the progression of it. And I think that's it. So for the most part, they're all just fun memories of jiu-jitsu.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I think that what I'm hearing is that you have to put your kid in jiu-jitsu before they have a choice. And then they just always go if they like it.
That's one model.
One way.
Because we didn't do that.
I've thought about that.
We didn't do that at all. I mean, we just kind of left it open to them. And Allison said at 6, I want to learn how to defend myself against my brother. And then I had a kids program for a couple years. Then she said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I put a stop to it. And I didn't have the program anymore. But I did put them both in soccer. And now Andy's like crazy soccer obsessed.
Yeah, I feel like the question I keep coming up against with my parenting is like, how much do I let them decide what it is that they do? And how much do I encourage them to like push through when they don't want to do stuff? And I got to say, like, my kids have been going to Gracie University for a couple of years now. And like, there's been some times when they like really didn't want to go, but I like pulled every little trick out of the hat to like get them to go. And I feel like just recently we've gotten to a spot where they like seem pretty like happy going, and like they always like it once they get going, but sometimes it's hard to break that barrier to like get them in the door, get the gi on, get them onto the mat. But now I feel like they do it pretty willingly, and then like they seem to be having a lot of fun.
I was asking,
I don't know what the right thing is.
Hickson a couple years ago about this, because of course as a dad, I want my son to do the jiu-jitsu. And I can even recognize my own cultural misogyny or whatever, because for some reason I want him to do it more than I wanted my daughter, even though she's the one who probably needs it, right? And but Hickson said, no, Crease, you give them a soccer ball.
Yep, he has one.
And
he has a soccer ball.
With jiu-jitsu's the reward, not something you have to do. It's something that eventually they'll want to. And then, like, I debate that within my own head, and I've often thought maybe I should have put my son. But my son is strong-willed.
He's the strongest of the strong. And my philosophy with parenting is expose them to as many things as I possibly can. And then by the time they're 10, they figure it out. And okay, this one likes doing that. And, and even with Allison, she was more into music and art. Yeah. And now she's found a pretty good fit with cross-country running, which I think is great, And then the one more thing, children don't do what you say, they do what you do. Yes. So watching their parents do this, perhaps one day they will find this or something else that they're really passionate about.
I always say, like, martial arts is always there for you.
Right.
Whenever people come in and out,
remember which one of the Machado brothers, but one of them resisted for long. Didn't start until he was like 16 or 15, whereas the other ones were doing it and then it's kind of one of those things where that period of youth from your grammar school through graduating high school, you really can adapt to something faster. And sometimes, correct me if I'm wrong, if you think, as a kid, you can actually develop a lot of bad habits, even if you're having good instruction.
Yeah,
And
100%.
Sometimes just that natural athlete and instinct kid does better than the kid who's been training, trying to memorize moves.
Yeah,
You
I think
know?
Andy Galpin said that talent always beats hard work. Like, I mean, if it's like rough. I would say like to get to a spot where you're good, like anyone can get there, but to be exceptional, it's kind of like a you got it or you don't, and you see that in every sport. And I think too with adults, it's so easy to develop bad habits, especially now with YouTube Jiu Jitsu and the UFC games, where like I meet students that like know arm bars, they know triangles, they know all the submissions, they know reversals, but they never step foot on the mat. It's just through playing the games or seeing it outside.
It's weird.
And yeah, it's really interesting. And now I'm like, all right, let's try to figure out how to work with this. But it's something too, like my niche and at my gym is definitely going to be people who've never stepped on the mat before, and just getting you like, let's show you the basic fundamentals.
Yeah.
Let's show you the Gracie combatives. If you've trained for a year or two and it's like you already have your sport game and everything, it's almost like, I don't know what your upbringing was. I don't know what you've been told. And like, I don't want to have that like get after it at all costs. Safety doesn't matter. I'm going to get the tap. Like, I almost don't want that in my gym.
Yeah.
And that's all I've seen Henner do it. And I've seen so many students be turned away from Gracie. And yeah, just really practicing that.
And it's
jiu-jitsu
weird too,
fun.
because like I remember a distinct time, and at this time I was pre-med at the time, and I'm reading all this like philosophy of the collective unconscious and all that, and there was this period of time that there's a before and after the jiu-jitsu explosion, where like I was in this unit. I mean, and there's like former college wrestlers, Green Berets, SEALs, and all that. I could line them up and tap them all out. And then it was because it wasn't in the collective unconscious yet. It wasn't in the zeitgeist. People would literally just offer you an arm and stick out a head. And then it was like all of a sudden everybody, including kids, and it's known as the 100th monkey phenomenon, where like one troop of monkeys figures out how to put a stick in an anthill, and then all of a sudden it goes viral. And this is without internet and pre-internet, which is made it weirder at the time. But like I remember when suddenly jiu-jitsu was in the collective unconscious, where even kids just instinctively knew, oh, if you have your legs around me, I put my arm out, you can tap it. And there was a before and an after a phase. And even for our mentors, Gracie's, Machado's, there was a period of time where they could line a room up, and then that time was gone. It was over. It was, and I got a little piece of sand in my eye, and like I remember the last phase of that. I'm over in England. I'm a new black belt, and it was the first wave of curiosity. What's this Gracie Jiu-Jitsu thing? And there were guys from a Hapkido school, a judo school, and all this, and I could line them all up. The next year, I couldn't. It had gone viral.
And I think, there is, like you said, about people learning things off of watching it or playing the game. When I was a purple belt, which was around 2007, a guy, white belt, put me in a body triangle and squeezed me as hard as he could and busted my rib because he saw it on the UFC and he wanted to try it out.
On the UFC
like,
video
this is
game.
not. Yeah, I was like, dude, I'm like 100 pounds smaller than you and you're an idiot. Like, and that was before I was cautious because I was in my 20s. And 20s are a wonderful
press
time.
reset. It's a video game, right?
Yeah, it don't work like that, homie.
Yeah, well, speaking of mentors, we share a mentor that the person who introduced you to jiu-jitsu in Mitch Yamashita. I took a class with him at Harbor College, and you took one at Elko, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I ran. he taught an Aikido class at IMB Academy, and I was doing Muay Thai, and then I ran into him at El Camino because I didn't know yet. Yeah, anyways, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's rad.
I loved Mitz. What an awesome human
So
being
he was teaching boxing,
Yes, he used to teach boxing too.
and I was like, I needed the whatever physical credit, and I was like, boxing for sure. I took it, and then we start talking, and I'm like, whoa, this guy's like the guy who got my guy into it. And but yeah, the highlight of that class definitely was like, he was like, oh, you do jiu-jitsu? Like pretty much instant A. But then we'd put out these mats at the end, and I do my own little challenge matches in college, and like all of a sudden all the guys that are all tough, I'm like, I bet I could tap all you guys out back to back.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And then I had that, and then he was there watching in the corner, and he was all smiling, and he invited me to train at one of his Aikido schools, and same thing, went there and rolled with everybody. And but yeah, he's a stud for sure, so I was happy to get that time with him. It's like the closest thing that we have to like a modern day Miyagi.
Yeah, totally. And then in that phase, so in the late 90s, like if we go from 95 to 2005 period-ish, you can say to 2008-ish even, there's was when I was like really formulating how I want to organize this thing in my brain. And people who know me know I'm pretty unorganized. And I'm partially unorganized as a strategy because fighting is unorganized. And when you try to organize things too much, then when something happens that's unpredictable, you cannot adapt. And jiu-jitsu is the art of adaptation. So part of the strategy is to always be accepting of the chaos, right? And that's like the whole Taoist thing. But so in that phase, I'm like, I'm realizing that there's a technology aspect of this. It's like there's the first writing of Microsoft Word, and then there's upgrades, and then there's the whole program gets kind of rewritten. And in our brains, we think it's all brand new, but really it's building off of what we already know, right? So there's this knowledge part, then there's this physical part, and then there's this mental part, which you can also call it the spiritual part, right? And I think when we overly integrate them too much, we get a fucking blur. And we can't, it slows our learning. Or when we think it's just a technology, right? But the guys who are just chasing the move.
Yeah. Yeah.
Body, mind, and spirit.
Where is Mitz Yamashita now? Do you
He
guys
died.
know? He died?
Oh, rest in peace.
Yeah.
When was that?
A couple years ago. I want to say it was COVID.
Yeah.
Moment of
Sorry to hear
silence for Mitz right there.
I know. For real.
Yes. He was an awesome, awesome man.
Yeah, I think speaking too of just that chaos of jiu-jitsu, and there's really like no better spot to talk about it here of just
The chaos of the ceiling?
yeah. There's
You
like,
mean the hoarding? Our little hoarding?
well, like
Hoarding
obviously the room's like crazy, and then you come here, and what's the square footage on this mat? Do you guys know?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. It's 20 by 20 roughly.
400.
Cool. I've been here when there's like 60 people on the mat.
No.
Yeah.
Well,
when they're spilling outside and we're
We
Well,
used to have mats out there and we had a tarp for a while, but I will allow 12 people to roll max. at a
We've
time.
had 50
do you hear that,
people
HOA?
here, though.
12 people max. That's all that's been in here. My memory.
No, they
My-
can stand
yeah.
on the side, but then
Yeah.
I'll say we need to have group
No,
A and group
right.
B.
No, of
and
course,
you
that's what I
can't-
mean. There being
yeah.
a group A, group B, and everyone's just wanting to get into it. But now it's so crazy. At headquarters, we have this huge mat, and we roll, and they're very big on like give everyone their space, which is awesome for the safety aspect. But like if I'm rolling and someone gets close to me, like I know how to grab someone's foot, shake
Exactly.
it,
Yeah,
and be
that's
over
what we
here.
do.
And if someone goes here, and like I have my little mat passes or wall
Yeah.
passes
Yeah,
that
I
I
love
do,
wall
and like
passes.
I have this whole game, and I'm like, man, I feel like I was just like rebirthed in this chaotic environment.
If it's padded, including
It
other
counts.
humans, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
That's like always been my rule.
Just
if
don't
there's
kick me in the
padding on it,
face.
it's part of the game.
Just don't
Yeah.
kick me in the
Yeah.
face.
I used to like, we had for a while a heavy bag in there, and I would purposefully leave that as an obstacle.
Yeah.
So
Do you remember the pegboard?
yes,
I miss that
We
thing.
remember it.
Yeah.
Rest in peace.
Where is it now?
It is back up over there. I took it down because I can't remember. There's a reason why, but a famous artist graffitied on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's
You
worth
guys
a
can't
lot of
see
money.
it.
Deffer the K,
But the
2S,
garage-
so it might actually be a piece of art one day. Yeah.
Yeah, that garage door, you could sell that. Like that's you got a
Let's do
one-on-one
it.
deffer.
That
Sell.
is an original deffer.
He did my buddy's office. It's so sick.
It's dope. Yeah.
It's insane.
He's
got
an
that.
amazing artist. Talk about an amazing story. We'll have to have like his
Oh yeah, have him.
period of being a gangster.
Have
got
him, Tobin.
Shot in the head, died, saw the white light, made it back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that gi, that Ruka gi. It's a shoyo roll Ruka gi that has Deffer art on it.
Yeah.
Called the garage camo because you blend in with the wall.
It is cool, huh?
That's rad.
So it's cool to hear your take on the kids jiu-jitsu stuff. It's just like a big topic for me. Like
Well, let me pause you right there.
Yeah.
You're in such good hands with Zach. That guy's like,
yeah.
he's a brown belt, but like he's my like Chris when it comes to instructing. Like that guy knows everything. He runs such a good program.
Yeah.
Zach Cunningham, you're my boy.
Yeah, Zach's the
I had a
man.
birthday party at my house a couple years ago, and like I got everyone together, and I was like, hey guys, like I know this is a day about me, and I love where I'm at in my life right now, and I wouldn't be here without having the guidance of my boy Zach. And he was like, and he's so humble. He's like, bro, why'd you do that? This and that. And I hooked him up. Like, I was doing better at the time. And I gave him like a bag full of like Lululemon gear and stuff. And I was like, here, bro. Because like, I know how you are. You're not going to spend money on clothes like that. So I'm going to take care of you. And, but yeah, you're in such good hands with Zach. I don't want to cut you off there.
Bobby too.
Bobby's a queen.
Bobby's amazing,
She doesn't like
yeah.
when I call her that. But yeah, Bobby's.
Yeah, they're
she's a
both
queen.
amazing, and the way they conduct all those kids, it's
Yeah.
incredible. They do a great job. We really
Yeah.
appreciate them.
She had me like show something. I was there just like, I brought one of
My
mine.
hats off to anybody who'll teach kids. Woof.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, it's
Different.
it's lit. But yeah, she had me like show like a little slice of something. I brought an instructor there just to show them how they operate. And she's like, you want to show them this? And I started showing like a move. And then I forgot what I did, but I hyped the kids up and they all started chanting, fight, fight, fight. And you have like 80 kids, and her way of just being like,
Oh yeah, she
and just
calms
brought it down. I was like,
Quiet coyote.
Yeah.
My bad to cut you off.
Oh, no worries. That's a big topic for us these days because Eddie just started judo also.
Yeah.
So he's going to judo on Monday nights and Thursday nights, and then jiu-jitsu on Wednesday. So he's
Wow.
6,
That's
and he's
cool.
doing 3 things a week now. And the cool experiment for all of us is that he's going to Gracie University, which is like the far end of the spectrum of like, this is fun, this is easy and relaxed, like. And then
Self-defense oriented.
And then he's going to judo school, which is like,
It's a little more Japanese.
Yeah.
And it's
down on your belly,
Yeah.
push-ups,
Yeah.
run around the mat. And so he had his first class, and it was interesting to see. He said he liked it. But the cool thing about that is I'm on the mat too, and I'm in the other end of the mat learning, and
Yeah.
he's on the other end of the mat. So we're on separate ends of the mat, and I'm like keeping an eye on him. And it's interesting to watch. There was one point where they had him on he's on his back like this, and he's doing leg raises, and they're like telling him like, keep your legs up, and his eyes were like this big.
Oh.
It was like-
That's funny.
and then
it's so
yeah.
easy to traumatize a kid.
But I think he had a good time. He said he had fun, and it was
that's
good.
good.
And they
Yeah.
grappled a little bit. So, and he
The
from Gracie,
Nawaza.
he knew how to move a little bit and play some guard, and he knew some stuff, even though he's like the smallest kid in the
And
group.
per my rule of threes, or my guideline of threes, you need a striking art, something where you haven't clinched yet. You need a clinch/throw art, judo, Greco, wrestling sorta, and you need a ground art, right? And good jiu-jitsu should incorporate all of those, but the emphasis is obviously on the ground. And so that's why, like, if you want to emphasize the clinch, you got to go do judo or Greco. You have to.
I reposted that clip yesterday or the day before of the street mugging scenario
Oh,
where the guy comes
We
up
got
the
in
stairs and
trouble.
grabs you. I
Why'd we get in trouble? Music?
They didn't like it. They said
The
that
bots
it wasn't
said that it was too violent.
Too violent.
Oh.
So I put in like a request to have it looked at again, and they removed that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But
This is why everybody
Thank you,
needs a
too.
Tobin.
They probably
You're-
thought it was real, and it was
no, the AI
Yeah,
looked at
the
it and was
AI,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is real. This
Yep.
is someone getting beat
you
up."
can't put
Right.
real violence.
You
on
know,
it.
you say that, but like half my popular page is just like murder, car crash,
Yeah.
insane videos.
I know.
It's so
Those might be age restricted.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What makes
Oh.
it through is so wild.
But that video, you clench, you do a foot sweep, ashiwaza, and then you control the guy and you strike him a little bit just to keep him in the
Just
place.
a little bit.
Just a little bit to go like, stay calm, stay calm. So you do all
Chris
three
hates
things.
those videos.
That's like
one video.
classic vintage Gracie.
You
Epic.
love those
Yeah.
videos?
Epic.
No,
He
Do you know what we're
hates
talking
those
about?
videos.
Yeah.
I
epic.
hate those videos.
Want to give a shout out to 5-Star Martial Arts, Albion Park Rail, New South Wales, Australia. Robert Cooley. Since 5-Star Martial Arts has opened, they've been dedicated to changing the lives of people one person at a time through martial arts, education, and coaching. They strive to provide a safe, comfortable, and welcoming atmosphere for all students and family members. 5-Star Martial Arts takes pride in creating an environment for individuals to achieve, develop, and succeed in their personal goals. It's an awesome facility, lots of square footages of mats, and Rob Cooley is a dedicated instructor and a really good friend. Shout out to you, and check him out if you're in the New South Wales area of Australia.
The interesting thing for me is that when someone's successful, I feel like people like to make it seem like somehow that person,
There's a formula.
or like just somehow that they don't deserve the success or something like that. It seems like, I feel like every time I've done well at something, some people tend to kind of like naturally go towards like,
There's always a
There's
hater.
haters.
there's always
The
haters,
haters
right?
gonna hate.
And I
hate,
feel like
hate, hate,
publicly successful jiu-jitsu people are Renner and Hiron. And I think
Absolutely.
hate. Oh, I hate sometimes.
there's misunderstanding about what having a black belt from Gracie University is and what it takes to get there. And I think this is a good example of somebody that grew up in jiu-jitsu, been training so by the time I started jiu-jitsu, you'd been training jiu-jitsu for like 15, 16 years or something like that, you know?
Took
And-
me 24 years to get my black belt.
Okay, there you go. And this guy's badass dude, trained at the garage for a bunch of years, challenge fighting people at his high school, out there kicking ass in tournaments, doing all this amazing stuff. Like you can't be more of a jiu-jitsu black belt than this, right? And this is a guy that went through the system like everybody else at Gracie University and got his black belt just like everybody else does at Gracie University. So it'd be interesting to hear what that is, and whatever else you want to share about that experience would be cool.
Of course. And yeah, with having that black belt, you know, it's amazing. It's a little sad now because I miss kind of being a brown belt. I'd see a black belt and I'd roll with them and be like, yeah,
Brown belt is the best phase, I think.
yeah.
You get all the respect of the black belt, none of the pressure.
Yeah, now it's like it's just expected of you. So
Yeah.
it's like, but it's really interesting now because I hear more on the sportive side of people being like, "Oh, Gracie University black belts, this and that." But in my mind, like that was so hard to accomplish. At least the way I did it, because I was a brown belt for 5 years, and yeah, I was a blue belt for 5 years, and I think training here as a blue belt was rad, and I really training here as a blue belt was really like got me to that next step to where I feel like I kind of got more of the black belt mentality because I was training at Gracie and I was trying to compete and like everyone was trying to be a wannabe Mendez brother, and like if you didn't know how to stop a Berimbolo, like you're pretty SOL. And then Halleck set me up with Crone, that was rad. But same thing, like it was good. It built off my Gracie foundation, but I wasn't getting that sportive edge that I needed. Where Chris was so eager as you were to like show me new things, like this is how you work spider guard, this is how you work other things. It was always like learning it to shut it down. But then at the same time, like you were like, yeah, it works, but then you would kind of like mock it, to where now I see like the older generation like talk smack about barambolos or like anything like that. And I'm like, it's so whack. Where you were quick to be like, yeah, I'll show it, but you'd be like, it's not the best, but like you weren't a hater. Like
Chris
you were,
Barambolos
Yeah.
still does.
I mean,
He says it's a transition, right?
I didn't answer that question.
like it was one of those
Go back
things
to it.
that would happen off of a scramble from De La Hiva, and we just thought you were scrambling and got lucky to grab the back, and then it got canonized. What happened as a result of this, the technology? Somebody took that programming and enhanced it and created it into a canonized
And a system.
technique and a
They
system.
make it a system instead of just being the things that happen when we roll.
One of the patterns.
One
that
of the
happens,
patterns,
yep.
they took it, made it a system, and improved upon it,
And
and
improved
added
upon
to
it,
it,
yes.
and made it a whole thing.
And so often, the older guys who like founded it or whatever are pissed off because the generation makes it better. When the Dean rolled in, he had a flying armbar and triangle. That was like sick. But I also knew that he's 19. And in 5 years, he ain't going to have that anymore.
I don't know. He might
Because
still be doing it.
He can still pull it off.
I was definitely had heard about this flying armbar and triangle for a while before I ever trained with you. And the
It was
first
like
time we
lightning,
trained together,
yeah.
I was like,
It was a
"All right,
lightning
don't stand
strike.
up. Don't lean over."
It was a lightning strike.
Well, I should say, like, you think of flying triangle, you think two people standing and flying, but I think just my ability to go from a seated position to hoisting myself up onto you, and then, so it's not like, by means I'm over here just like flying,
You ran.
smashing people.
He defied gravity.
I'm getting,
Like lightning,
I'm getting aerial from the ground, and it's like, it's definitely catch you off guard.
And it reminded me of skating.
Yeah.
Like leaving the coping, grabbing air in the early days when like Alva caught air in the pool. Like that changed skateboarding forever.
Ooh, that
The
frontside
ollie.
air photo.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But the ollie changed the skating forever. I was watching last week the Chinese kids, like 6, 7 years old,
He was in China.
pulling mad air, pulling ollies.
Give some context there.
Like it just like was blowing me away how good these kids were. And I'm rapping with this other American who's a little younger than me but older,
Can I
who
crack one of these?
grew up
Yeah, that's what
skating.
they're there
And
for. Yeah.
we were like rapping about like just how good these kids are now.
Yeah.
Like any one of these kids, if you transported them back 20 years ago, would be the Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's true with the jiu-jitsu now too.
Yeah.
Everything's getting harder.
Yes.
Even getting accepted to college. Kind of sucks for our kids.
Oh, I know. The college that I went to is like super hard to get into.
Yeah, I
now.
went to UCLA. I think that's hard too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was hard.
I went to Cal State Fullerton.
So
They might be able to go there.
But
So let's hear about. So you went to Gracie University and got your black belt there. What was that process like? Like, what do you have to do to go from brown to black belt at Gracie University?
So essentially, you get invited to go to the testing for it, and it's a weekend-long thing. And
But you're not going to get invited if you can't do jiu-jitsu, right?
And big
Yeah.
gyms there.
So nobody can
Big
just
gyms.
nobody. Just to be clear, nobody can just. Henner's not going to take your money and then just have you fill out some forms and then offer you a black belt testing.
Yeah,
you have
I mean,
to know.
that-
You have to do jiu-jitsu a lot. For a
that
long
would be
time.
rad if he did. I mean,
You have
I
to
had
be a brown belt.
I had to cut my teeth. But it's cool without kind of. I think there's a certain amount of like Fight Club to it where it's like don't talk about it. But what I do feel is worth sharing. From speaking to a lot of other Gracie affiliates, we have that Elio book where he's holding,
Yeah, it's a good
and
book.
it's just all the standing techniques. And there was a huge element of sparring, and man, it was honestly like one of the best weekends of my life.
That's
like,
cool.
I think, I mean, I just like getting after it.
Yeah.
And so everyone's like, there's so many rumors about this and that, and I'm like, I'll roll all day, all night.
Yeah.
Like,
Lucky that you can.
I've been,
I roll for 2 hours and I can't walk.
yeah. But yeah, it was something you had to get invited, and it was cool too. I helped Henner out with the seminar at AOJ with Zach and Bobby. The four of us rolled down there, and I was talking to Henner, and I was like, bro, like, what do I got to do to get my black belt? And he was like, oh, I thought you were going to get it through Chris. He's like, I didn't even know you wanted to get it through us. And then he kind of gave me a nod where he's like, hey, like, you got to train more with heat on and in the mornings, because I was teaching at night. And then, yeah, it was rad. I just was really training. And it's not like just the environment over there is so different. It's not like, oh, yeah, you're catching everybody. You're going to be a brown belt. It's more like how much responsibility you have on the mat, and just kind of, it's very, yeah, there's a lot more ethos that goes into it being like a Gracie black belt. But what's cool too is, and what Chris and I originally talked about was when I got it, having heat on and Chris tie it on me at the same time, and having Chris show up at the ceremony, I forget, because to me, you're just like, yeah, coach, everything, but we're still boys. But watching people be like, oh my God, that's Chris Haueter. And I'm like, no way, like people are fanboying over Chris. And
Oh, everywhere we go, in every airport.
No.
Kind of.
can I have your autograph?
But we love you guys.
Sign my belt. But and it was cool. And then after I had like surprise promoted my girlfriend, and Heat On was like, are you gonna mention Chris right now? And I was like, yeah. He's like, make sure you say something about Chris. And then I said something, but how many people were on that mat, do you think, for that belt
That was
ceremony?
busy. That was like 80, maybe 100.
No, there was probably like 400 people there.
400, geez, okay,
Yeah. Like, they're pushing capacity. Or
It was super crowded.
for OSHA, there was only 80 people.
Time out.
Whoa.
That's a big one.
Military.
Yeah.
With Sikorsky.
Yeah. For OSHA, there was only 80 people there. But so when I announced Chris, everyone clapped. Where like my voice got drowned out, and then he don't grab me, and he's like, give Chris like his proper words, and I was like,
Oh, that's interesting.
oh hell yeah, like, and then so it was cool, and like I feel like something that I loved about training here was like everyone says they don't care about belts, but I feel like I was genuinely just chasing the technique, like to the point where like I feel like I would still be a blue belt right now if it wasn't for you, where you were like, Chris, we're promoting Dean right now. I'm tired of this. And I remember I was a blue belt rolling here with Wes, and he just got his black belt, and I made him puke.
Oh, that's not hard to do, bro.
But it was just like, and I did it. But it was one of those black belt only training days, and like I was going through everybody, and Chris was just like, there's so many people that wanted to be here for this, but Dino, no more. And he gave me my purple
That's
belt.
cool.
And in Chris
Sometimes
fashion, he
it's
just
like that.
grabs a belt off the wall, and then he's like, okay, go buy your own purple belt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
That's old school.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I got a purple belt thrown at me. It's like, put this on.
Well, guys,
All
hit
right.
me up. I'm doing custom belts now
Yeah.
with Dude Where's My Belt, and I'm doing these sick heat transfers. This is one I did for myself.
Oh, I got to see
So I'm doing these center indicators.
Want to zoom in on
This
that?
is super dope.
The Alio tag I don't do for everybody. That's not for sale. Yeah. But yeah, if ever you guys need belts, hit me up. I'm doing these with OTM.
That's sick.
Oh, cool.
So I can make a custom combat-based tag.
That's a thing.
Chris can
where-
talk about his belt philosophy. Yeah.
Well, just the whole concept of like there's the purity, the white gi with no labels or extra art on the belt. That's like no patches on your gi and all that. There's that model. Then there's the streetwear, fucking cool, camouflaged black belt, tie-dyed gi with super kinds of different patches and all that, right? Those are the two extremes. And I love watching that kind of that debate / argument play out. And I think it's so funny that people want one of those sides to win. Like, who fucking cares?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that
We're on the
I
mat.
think that we should do what we feel we like
Yeah.
the most. Like
Yeah.
I love to wear my Vanguard gis because they feel nice. I like colorful gis. Chris likes to wear white gis, and whatever.
But I'll wear like I'm not. It's not a rule I've made. I've just kind of
you wear a
done
gray gi at UACTP
Yeah.
because that's what they provide for him down
Yeah.
there, and they wash it for him. Isn't that sweet?
But yeah, as I've become an elder statesman, I am trying to fulfill the role of tradition, which is the white gi. Instead of trying to pretend I'm a 25-year-old Grom wearing a tiger striped gi, right?
Yeah.
And
But I feel like you've always mostly worn white
cool.
gis when I
Like
think
it.
back.
Gotcha.
mostly.
You put patches on them and you put flares
I
and
did my
you
punk
drew.
rock
He
thing
did
for a
his
while.
own, like he drew on gis. He would draw
Yeah.
on gis, but it was always been mostly white gis. I don't think you like the way you look in other colors. That's my theory.
Well, as a kid, I always wanted a black gi because of ninjas, right?
Well,
the black
I-
gi just seems so cool.
I roll like 20% faster when I wear black gis. They make you more ninja.
Make you
And
more
that
ninja,
is a
yeah.
statistical proven fact.
Yes,
Black gis make you get after it more.
they make you better. Martial arts that wear black gis, like back in the early 90s
Cobra Kai.
and in 80s, yeah. The martial arts that wore black gi seemed way scarier than ones that wore white gis.
Yeah.
see that.
Well, Gracie's only white, and I think I'm gonna. I mean, at my gym, I'm gonna do that. But what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna have casual Friday.
That's
Might not
cool.
be Friday,
Oh.
and then because I want to encourage like just be yourself. And if you want to wear a tie dye gi, I don't want to be the one that's like you can't wear that here.
Yeah.
But I do need a certain amount of uniformity. But
Yeah.
it'll be like, hey, one day a week,
Smart.
advanced class, not the beginner classes, wear whatever you want. And also, like Mike, he hooks me up with like, I mean, that was another reason why I came over here. But he's been sponsoring me from Adidas to Storm to now Vanguard, where it's like these gis are sick. And if I have this green gi, I'm not just trying to make it like sit on my shelf.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like to, just encourage people to be themselves.
And it's that thing, I mean, even within the gi thing, we basically have a more or less regulated product. Just like when you play football, everybody's basically playing with the same ball with the same amount of air in it. The field is
Unless you're Tom Brady.
measured off. Yeah, exactly. But like, so if you remove the color and adornment and patches, we are all basically wearing the same gi.
If you remove all the clothes.
If you move all the colors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all the patches and colors and adornments, we're basically wearing the same, mostly IBJJF regulated gi. Like that has become a standard. And there was definitely a period of time from when I began till about 2002 where that had not been worked out yet. Mm-hmm. Where some gis had super baggy sleeves. One brand in A2 was the equivalent of an A1 and another brand was the equivalent of an A3 in that brand. Like, it wasn't systemized yet.
And there's like a safety factor, right? So like,
Yes.
why not just have whatever you want to wear? Come on in, wear whatever you want to wear. Well, I don't want to get my fingers caught in your weird thing
Your
that you
weird
have on.
gi,
I don't
yep.
want to have. I'm not used to that in normal training, right? And so, obviously, you want to be ready to use whatever shirt or sweatshirt someone has on in a street scenario. But at the end of the day, I need to practice every day and
Yes.
not get hurt every day. So
And that's the order, chaos, dialectic.
you got to
Yeah.
be somewhere in the middle. That's a great idea. Though.
I can go like
Casual Fridays. I like.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope. I can go like 5 hours just on this conversation alone. But man, I got a question for everyone in the room right now.
Yeah.
We're gonna get divided.
Hit us.
Ripstop or cotton pants?
Ripstop.
We got one for Ripstop.
I like that, what you're wearing.
Ripstop.
Cool. I also am team Ripstop. Maybe I didn't. I unified the room.
I mean, yeah.
What about you?
I don't care either.
Yeah.
I mean,
That feels
If
lighter.
I'm training with
as
right?
a traveling
Does that
gi,
feel lighter?
Yeah.
Ripstop.
I like lighter gis.
Well,
just
I'm not
pants.
that
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to know why I like
Than the
Ripstop?
canvas.
When I was
They wick too.
Yeah, they wick. Yeah.
like my blue belt time, my white belt, blue belt, beginning of purple belt time, where I was training a lot. And my instructor would make me do the warm-ups for every single class. And sometimes I would do like 3 classes in a day. So I'd end up doing 3 warm-ups a day. And the warm-ups are long. They were like
and the canvas will get soaked.
almost 30 minutes long sometimes.
You got
right?
swamp butt.
So what I liked is that the Ripstop allowed me to
whips.
like slide across the mat easier.
Oh yeah.
So my warm-ups got way easier to like
For
hip
sure.
escape like all the way across the mat
Whereas
with
the cotton would stick.
cotton would stick and you
Yeah.
But how nice
Legit
is it
cotton.
though when you're training with
Canvas.
someone and they're wearing
Canvas.
canvas pants
Yep.
and you just get your grips and you're like,
it's like all tight.
oh, these aren't going anywhere.
Yep, that
Yeah.
bomb-proof, good canvas grip on the
But we
pants.
used to not have a choice. It was all
Yes.
canvas.
Yeah.
It was all canvas. And then when these started
Yep.
coming around, I was like, oh, this is like a whole new world.
Yeah, it was like wild. Like,
Yeah, it was
wow,
wild.
Ripstop. This is cool.
So you're making the belts, and then you have, what else you making? We got Tac-Div. Tell
Yeah.
us about
So Ryan Gregg, you guys are very familiar. He went to your wedding.
Yep.
Yep.
He was one of my first jiu-jitsu coaches back in the days, and I was teaching at a CTC in Huntington Beach, and it's right next to OTM. And so I just pop in there, grab whatever, and I saw him, and he was like, "Bro, like, so much love. The guy's got the biggest heart." He's like, "Let's make you a custom rash guard for Christmas," and I was like, "Sick." And so I sit behind AI for the first time. I'm designing it, and I'm like, "Hey, I have another idea for a rash guard, just a blank rash guard with just a little American flag on it." Because now, like, seeing the gun culture in Huntington Beach, it's very, my rights end, where your feelings start.
Yeah.
AK-47. But I'm seeing people that want to be patriotic, but it's like so like
So
aggressive.
loud and in your face.
So I designed this one rash
So
guard.
1991 tap out.
Yeah, very 1991 tap out. Currently going on with the 2A crowd.
Yep.
Shout out. But and then so we were like, well, what should the tag look like, and this and that. In my mind, I was making an OTM, just a rash guard for them to make. And then he has a really cool way of like empowering people. Of like, he's like, yo, let's make this its whole brand. And then that gave birth to On the Mark OTM, Tactical Division. So my eyes was like the tactical division of OTM.
That's killer.
And then I've just been getting a crash course through them on everything from shirt design or shirt manufacturing, how to order blanks. Right now we're doing heat presses, and the quality is insane these days. Like this, like
You got to hook me up.
the way it cracks. I got you,
Or
brother.
us?
Yeah, us up.
So yeah, it's been cool. We made a gi. We did
gotta
some
have-
stuff.
Chick fit.
Dude,
Chick
I got
fits.
a
We got-
killer idea for OTM.
Yeah.
You got to do a line called Off the Mat.
Oof.
And it's like
Oh.
slippers and gi pants that are like more cozy, and like
yeah.
a gi top that's like a
Small.
robe with a
Off
smoking
the
pipe.
mat. That is
Off the
Yeah.
mat.
killer. We got to tell Ryan that.
So the brand's Tac-Div, but Tactical Division.
Oh, that's dope.
I know you're a medium.
That's a nice shirt.
Yeah, this is another rad one. Boom, just all black.
We used to do things with Ryan, and then he referred us somewhere else
Yeah, well, hit us up. I'll make everything for you.
because
And then I got-
we do rash guards.
We
We
do
do
rash
we do
guards.
everything, right? But rash
Combat-based
guards,
rash guards available on combatbase.com.
yes, rash guards and board shorts. I've
they
been
will make
doing
you
them
roll
with
10%
someone.
faster.
Yeah, with someone that he recommended.
Yeah, and then so now
Oh, that's
I'm just
dope.
learning how to just make shirts. So I'm
These are
making the
good.
shirts
That
for my
logo's dope.
podcast. This is what I like more. It's like a pigment dyed canvas. It's very
That's
beach
so
fitting.
80s.
Super
I like
rad.
that shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or
And
early
then,
90s.
So this is
Very
a
rad.
large. I got you, Tobin.
Oh, thanks, man.
But it's cool
That's
now.
awesome.
Like I'm making shirts for like my girlfriend's dad's contracting company.
That's cool.
So now it's just kind of learning about marketing. And then with the heat transfers, I was like, let me start doing belts and figuring out how to put people's names on belts. But now I can do fun stuff like this, where it's like it's English, but it looks like kanji.
Oh, yeah. That's dope.
And I feel like little stuff like that, I would have lost my mind for as a kid. But so now it's just kind of like just doing the stuff that would have stoked me out.
That
And
would have stoked you out as a kid. Yep.
I'm doing the heat pressing stripes. They're coming out cool. But yeah, it's just been a really fun project, just kind of learning. I always call it getting my Mike Dietrich on anytime I'm sitting behind the computer,
Yeah.
designing everything.
Which
Speaking
we
of
got.
Mike, another project that we got involved with was Mixtape.
Oh,
and
yeah.
the brand's kind of died out. But if you guys remember,
Mixtape is killer.
this is like the best grappling
Yes.
tape.
It's good tape.
So I still
I
have
love mixtape.
I still have a lifetime supply in my garage. Mike,
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Lifetime.
I dropped the ball on this brand, but
Thanks, man.
Mixtape is dope.
and then that's for both of you guys. Don't worry, Melissa.
Oh, thanks.
And it has the perfect, it's got the 3/4 size and the 1/2 inch, which is exactly what you need
Well,
for finger
what's-
wrapping, toe wrapping.
What's rad about it, I'm gonna bust open Tobin's real quick, was it was really the only tape that I noticed that can do this. So if we rip off a piece here,
You can
of course,
split it.
they tear, it rips
It
nice,
tears nice, yeah.
but it tears nice this
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is,
And that's like important.
it's a little stretchy,
Yeah.
but it sticks well.
Because like one finger you want the 1/4 inch tape, one finger you want the 1/2 inch, depending on your injury that you're wrapping.
Yeah, so it's something that, like, if you hit me up, I probably have some in my trunk, but, yeah, low-key project. And then the other big thing I'm doing is starting the gym, Gracie CTC, what you guys talked about on episode 1, I kind of wanted to wrap a little bit about kind of Gracie University and what they're doing, and yeah, it's epic.
Let me interrupt just one thing because it's a childhood memory that you mentioned how when you grow up you want to make things that you wanted as a kid, right? So when we were kids, 1970 whatever it was,
When none of us were born.
the new skateboarder magazine came out, and it would have adverts and would show all these skate decks. And what I did was I cut out the deck and I would glue it at school to a cardboard. I would get a little...
You're not about to tell me you invented the tech deck right now.
I did. And, yes. And I made, for my little finger guys, skateboards. And I have my original one in there. We would use eraser heads and cut them off. That's the wheels. Use pins to stick them in. And I started a trend at school. And then I remember being an adult and going in a store and seeing those and going, motherfucker. Why didn't I fucking create that? Like,
Hilarious.
You did create it.
I'm sure I wasn't the only guy who.
Why didn't
came
you
up
There's
with
been
that.
times when I've been rolling
Monetize
on
it.
the mat, and Chris is like, "Yeah, the iPad. I swear, I had the idea to make that happen." And there's a lot of things, but you're like,
No, dude, I fucking started finger skateboards.
"Oh, get down."
It was
Perfect.
like 73 or like whatever it was, like the second issue of Skateboard magazine. And again, I'm sure I wasn't the only Southern California kid who made little skateboards, but
But I think you're the first.
me,
Maybe not the only, but I'm gonna claim first for you.
Tobin, I'm gonna see you later. I'm gonna give you this large, my man, on hookup producer.
Oh, nice. Thanks.
My man behind the camera never gets any love.
I know, John.
John, we
make
love
sure.
John. This whole
John's
thing
the
would
man.
not be possible
And
without
also-
John, the cameraman.
remember too, guys, adjusting for chaos theory and Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. If one day we can absolutely scan and computer map everything, we could reverse time and we could actually find out if I was the first.
We could.
We could.
Let's do it.
Go back in time and find out that me in Manhattan Beach and some kid in Huntington Beach who was cutting out skateboard decks in magazines. Yeah.
I love it.
All right, let's talk about GU.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about Geo a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
So kind of jumping back into the journey. So I was training here, purple belt, in college, or I went to college. I was living over in Fullerton. And for the first time in my life, I was like cool for doing jiu-jitsu. Because growing up, people were like, "Oh, you do jiu-jitsu?" and that type of deal. And I was like,
Each knee.
I was telling everyone, "No, I grapple."
It's like
'Cause that-
Cobra Kai.
That sounded better in my mind.
Yep.
But then there was a jiu-jitsu room over there. And now everyone's a white belt. And I'm like wrapping up the coach. I'm like, dude, this is rad.
Yeah.
Like, and but something unique happened there to where your philosophies really clicked of when I was on the mat here, golden rule, stay on top, went on top. But I was always so quick to, like, if I was on the bottom, I was just raised, like, if you're in the worst position, stay cool under pressure. It's
Yeah.
fine. Pressure makes diamonds. But when I'm rolling with white belts, I'm like, man, I don't want this kid on top of me. It was just a spaz.
Mm-hmm.
And something changed in my game where, like, I really kind of started to develop this top game, purple going into brown. But the crazy thing was when I came back over here and I'd roll on Sundays, I was doing the same game to everyone that did train. And everything just clicked for me. And then right around that time, same thing. Shout out to Melissa, her being like, Dean can't be a purple belt anymore. I got Ironman. That was a memorable day. And then I got my brown belt. And then right at that time, graduated college. One of my buddies, I graduated with a degree in advertising because I saw the dollars go from TV to social media.
Yeah.
And everyone thinks a kid knows how to work that better than they do
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
I still do.
And then, so then I got a finance, but then my buddy was like, dude, come work in finance with me. Like, you're going to crush it. Just saw like my charisma. And then, so we got the job in El Segundo. And then right around that time, I'm moving back to the South Bay, but I don't want to move back home. Melissa's like, we're going to be renting out the house. If anyone knows anyone who wants to rent a room, mid-roll, I'm like, Yeah, absolutely. And then I rented out that room, and so then jiu-jitsu here was really cool because I just like wake up like not even brushing my teeth, like putting on my gi pants over my underwear I was sleeping in, and then just jump on the mat and start rolling, and it was an epic time. And then I was visiting Halleck in Colorado, and we were in a hot spring, and some guy threw a rock, and it just blew my knee out.
Oh,
Like
Ooh.
some guy was flying a drone, and he threw a rock to try to hit it, and then it just went.
ow.
What are the
Oh.
odds of that?
Yeah, and Halleck's like, "Do you want me to end this guy right now?" And I was like, "No."
I gotta call Halleck. I love Halleck.
We love Halleck.
Yeah, I told him I was coming on here. He's cool.
Yeah.
I love
Oh, bro, we got to talk
Halleck's
about.
show.
We got to talk
Remember
about
Yeah,
the
the
foundation.
show. Wow,
Yeah,
that
well,
show.
hold on.
We'll get into the foundation in a minute. I'm
That was
so
the best 80s style after school special.
happy that thing never saw the light of day.
I'm so not. I love the foundation. It's cringy, but I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Um,
Superstar.
yeah. Let's talk about the foundation. So
Keegan says, Grease, you're going to be superstar.
yeah, we
I see you in Halleck's foundation show. It's good move.
he was shopping
Good
it
move for
around.
you.
He was showing it to like some producers and stuff, and
That's
yeah. Well,
So it happened here, the foundation.
Yeah, so it's
But Cobra Kai came and just kind of.
Cobra Kai blew us out of the water.
Right,
Otherwise,
yeah.
we'd all be so famous.
Well, let's talk about what it was. So, being here in the South Bay, I'd be like, Halleck, come roll with Chris. Obviously, we got both involved with Metamoris. Both of us were effing it, which was pretty sick. And then,
Metamoris was epic and started the whole professional grappling thing.
yeah,
Just like UFC from Horion started the whole MMA thing. Got to give the Gracies their props.
you do. But training here and then seeing kind of a crazy home life, Halleck's like, yo, what about this idea? And essentially it was a modern day Karate Kid with jiu-jitsu, and Chris is my Mr. Miyagi. And it's like the story of a kid who gets bullied, and like I had my buddies like beat me up on the beach, and then I was like, Chris like walks in, it's like, hey, stop. And then, but yeah, so Halleck on just a little
Yeah.
6D,
Just but guerrilla style, no script, just shot it.
and we just made a whole TV show.
Yeah, it was cool.
And everyone's like, this kid's the cringiest actor. And I'm like, dang, people are even considering me
There's
an
so
actor.
many haters.
But I'm an actor.
I showed it to one of my buddies who's like killing it acting. And he was like, bro, this is so good, this and that. And I was like, nah. but,
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
but
I
yeah.
haven't seen it. I got to see it.
But
Read about it.
yeah,
I think
I have the
Alex should
link.
Put it on YouTube.
I have the link.
It's on YouTube?
I'll
You
share
know
it with
it's
you
not,
guys.
But he should put it
If
on
we do
private
like a
link?
pinky promise, never share it.
Is it a private link?
Yeah. I don't even think
see
I'll
it.
share it. We'll have a viewing party at my house. Like, I can't even risk
I
it.
read about
God,
this
I
online.
tried to tell Halleck, just put it on YouTube, bro.
Yeah, why the hell not?
I don't know. He's
We'll host it on our channel.
Yeah.
might
We'll
make
host it
a-
on our channel.
Yeah, it was rad. Pat, Rocco,
Yeah.
Melissa, you had a huge part in it. I was
Always wanted to be an actress or an actor or whatever they call themselves.
You gotta call yourself an actor now.
Okay, actor.
So
So
the GU stuff. So.
yes, keep going back to GU. I wanted to get through the journey up to there. So I started working. So now I'm back in the South Bay after college, and I start linking up with my buddy Brian, and he's always at headquarters. And I'd never been to the new Gracie University. I was always just going to the one with Horion at the academy. And I just saw the vibe there, and it was cool. And at the time, my knee was kind of getting better, and I just kind of jumped into a class, and there were a couple like sharks there, and no one had seen me forever. And then I roll, and I'm like, just doing my thing, and everyone's
Tuning
like,
pulls up.
but it's so cool now. I'm seeing this whole wave of people that I spent so much time with from like 12 to 15 that are like, bro, you grew up. And I was just getting so much love, and like, yeah, I just loved it so much, and ended up going back there to train. And I was still kind of popping in here every now and again. And then, but when I was training over there, I was just stepping onto the mat. Like, I didn't sign up or anything. And I'm like, I'm going to keep training until Henner like calls me out. And then like, I'm going to see, like, have that conversation. And sure enough, one day he's like, Dino, come to my office, go into the principal's office. And I'm thinking he's going to be like, yo, what's going on, this and that. Like, but he's like, Dino, check out this instructor certification program we're doing. And he shows me a video of a blue belt who has like 600 students.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? And he's like, bro, you're so far along, with how young you are, he's like, what do you, like, do you think, like, you would want to be an instructor? And he's like, right now, he's like, what's going on in your life? I'm like, oh, I'm working in finance, I'm doing this. And then he's like, bro, I think you could have your daytime hustle and have a gym at night. And then right at the end of it, he's like, oh, by the way, what's going on with you training here? And I was like, all right, I'll sign up. And then everything was going good. I got a good line. I'm going to wait for this to pass.
I think the mics actually will scrub that.
Yeah, that one's
That
not
one,
bad.
just
Okay.
that ultra loud one.
Yeah. So all this is going on 2019. And I'm like, all right, 2020 is going to be my year. I'm going to get my black belt. I'm going to go through the instructor program. And obviously,
COVID.
yeah, the world shuts down, got fired from the finance job. But then, so I'm like in shambles and I got fired. And then my buddy hits me up. He's like, yo, want to come to Korea with me? Because he's going to fight over there. He's going to do press with the UFC. We always talked about traveling the world. Free plane ticket on UFC's dollar. I'm like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I went over there and I went to the guy who was kind of hosting us around, owns a gym out there, Gracie CTC, Korea. Shout out to Jason Park. And I'm like, dude, how funny would it be if I just took a combatives class right now, like the beginner class, and I put on a gi. And I don't speak Korean, but I know exactly everything they're saying. And it's all from the instructor program. It's just like
That's funny.
the most effective way of delivery, I think, for jiu-jitsu.
This
That's
is
also an
Brian you were
effective
traveling
way
with, Brian?
to
Yeah.
learn a language.
It was
Is like do the Christmas carols and songs in another language, and then
Yeah. There you go.
exactly.
Feliz Navidad.
And then, so at that time, I was kind of like, oh yeah, I had that conversation with Renner about starting a gym. And then that year, I was just following my buddy around, just taking photos for him. And then we ended up going to Fight Island in Dubai together. And his coach was like, yo, we're thinking about turning our gym into a CTC. If we did, could you run it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm certified. And I wasn't. And so I hit up. And so they have like a 6-month-long program. And I don't advise this to anybody, but I did it in like 2 weeks. But I had a lifetime of already knowing everything they were saying. And I got my certification and I started teaching all the Gracie programs for the last 3 years. And then just kind of got tired of doing all the work for somebody else. And was like, time to just start my own gym.
that's killer.
And that's kind of my whole... I saw what you guys were doing, and I feel like I brought you a lot of your students with Pat Rocco and that whole like time frame. I was really like trying to send as many people as I could here. But then just kind of that empire Henner built, it's there to succeed. And
Yep.
I feel still so fortunate to the roots that I planted here. And like I said, like right off on the beginning, we're trying to make every dollar stretch, but I'd love to have it be like a dual affiliation with Combat Base and also to like help support. But
Well, I mean, as you know, our combat base philosophy is attraction, not promotion, and open to whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
That's always how it's been.
And we've created a structured form of membership so people can join at combatbase.com. We have
At
4
any
levels
level
of membership, and there's different levels.
You can be part of any other organization. We don't care.
Yep.
You could be part of the fucking woke movement, the MAGA movement, the Communist fucking party.
Hold
the
on. I'm going
Libertarian
to stop
party.
you there. Hold on. Because we do, for our group members, we have an application process. So we do an interview.
You can't be a criminal.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't be a criminal.
Or a
But we would
rapist.
obviously not have to do an application process with Dean because he's been with us forever.
You got the long application.
Yeah, we'll give you
The
an
long and
extra
hard
screening.
application process.
oh, this place, it's like... Oh, is that me?
No.
Dude, we have the same ringtone. Wow. I've never met anyone else with the same
I
ringtone.
love that sci-fi robot
Yeah.
50s.
But yeah, just this garage is such a magical place. I mean, Brian Phillips quoted it to me where he's like, well, you're gnarly because you have all this Gracie like fundamentals, but like you spent all these years in that sadistic garage. And I was like,
He would say that. Love you,
Well,
Brian.
yeah, he's the one who introduced me to you guys. And
Right.
I love him so much. And yeah, but just this place is just so magical. And it's something too, I always tell people like whenever I travel and now with Gracie, seeing people being so like giving you your flowers, I'm like, bro, if ever you want to go to Combat Base, I'll make sure they roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah, I'm in my arrogance. I often say what I'd become in my older age, and I'm emulating Hickson in a lot of ways. And Hegan, back when Hegan would do like detailed privates, is I call myself a polishing coach. And as Hickson told me, it's like, Chris, it's not about me teaching you new moves. It's about learning the essence of Jiu Jitsu. To take what you know and learn the essence, the invisible part. And that's like, so I get a lot of guys from like foreign countries who are GU black belts.
A lot of black belts.
They come over here. They technically know more of the steps of the GU program than I know, but I could take what they know and go, no, move your grip a little like this, do this like this, your stance is off, and then
make it work.
make it work.
Make it more efficient. Not only work, but work more efficiently.
Yes. That's what I'm good at. I'm
Well,
a
not to
polishing
be
coach.
redundant, but you were like my first coach. Like, I'm forever. I mentioned you when I had like when I got my black belt at the end of, I did like a carousel post.
Yeah.
And at the end of them, I just did all my thank yous because I didn't want to write a long caption.
What you had was instruction, but you didn't have coaching, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I told you, or I said to kind of give you your flowers on it, I was like, Chris, like, thank you for being my first real coach, and you're the biggest impact on how I roll.
Right on.
Because you were so cool about, like, this is how you get after it, this is when you chill. And I mean, we can go on just through the philosophies that you showed me and just the teachings and putting everything into perspective and the essence of, there's just so many things now that, like, I'm able to kind of give back. And, like, selfishly, I'm like, oh, they're mine. But, like having you told me, like, you have a first and a sixth gear. You'll be in the worst position and you'll stay calm, or you'll be getting after it. You need a second, a third. You need to be able to, like, kind of coast. And that hit so heavy. And just little things of, like, always getting on top, where it's like, hey, instead of going for that jumping triangle, you know, you could just sweep and get on top right there. And it's so funny now when I hear people like Henner talk about, like, combat base. And I'm like, I never even knew what combat base was when I was training here, of just one knee up, one knee down. But it was just something that, like, we all did. So it's cool to, like, see all the names get put in. And I think probably one of my favorite GU experiences was at the black belt meetup. Everyone goes to roll, and I grab Henner, and I'm like, Henner, roll with Chris. And after, he just, like, praised you for, like, 15 minutes, like, in front of everybody. And I was just so, like, I think you were there for the second one, right?
No.
We were there, the second
We were
one.
there the
Yeah.
second
You
one.
and me.
I was out of town the first
We were
I
there.
slid
You
in
and
at,
me
like, the
and
last
Jim.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
You were there.
For like the last couple minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But-
Embarrassingly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome now to, like, see everyone kind of start to recognize, and seeing you do, like, seminars at CTCs is rad.
Yeah, I like teaching it.
Yeah, they like Chris.
Yep.
They like.
I mean, I definitely like as I'm aging and realizing I'm in my last, like, few years of being able to pull off certain things that the body just doesn't move that way anymore. So it's a little more precious that I can
Aw.
show things in a lot of ways. You know what I mean?
Tobin's
like-
welling. Tobin's gonna cry. I'm just
Oh.
kidding.
I was just thinking that because my experience at GU, because I started going there with my kids.
Yeah, I met
right?
you at GU. I was
Yeah.
like, anytime, I'm like a shark. Anytime I see someone that I know you're an
You and
outsider,
everybody
I'm like, let's roll. And I'm like, and if you give me any, like, we're getting after it, I'm like, hell yeah, because I roll so chill with everyone over there. And, like, it was cool because you were, like, putting some pressure, but you were also cool. And I mean, if you're lame as a person, you're gonna be lame on the mat.
You'll feel it.
But I was like, dude, Tobin's rad on the mat. And then now he's my Trader Joe's shopping homie. I run into him at the market. I run into you at Trader Joe's like every other week. And then, yeah, you're just such a sick dude. How was your GU experience?
Oh, I'm just saying
jump
that
in.
I started going over with my kids, right? And then wanted to train there and drop in and just, like, get to know everybody and be a part of the deal a little bit. But I mean, I had considered this before, but now I'm realizing, like, a lot of the positive intake of me into that system is probably due to you guys,
Yeah.
because my affiliation is with you, and they know that.
Yeah.
So if you were from somewhere else, you might not
Maybe
be
not.
as
I mean,
accepted as
no,
well.
I'd
they're,
like to
they're
believe
very
that
accepting with
They're
everybody,
accepting,
but
and
if
they're a
like
nice guy, but, like, the situation is such a, like,
Chris guys have a good rep over there.
every time I go train there, Henner gets a round in with me. I don't think it's like that for every single person. And I feel like that's really special. And I really always feel super thankful for that he wants to roll with me and wants to help me with my jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And I am sure that has something to do with the combat-based patch on my gi.
And you knew those guys when they were little boys.
Kids, yep.
Did you train with them when they were kids?
A little bit. A little bit.
Yeah, jumping back, I feel like when I was here, I feel like I got the best of you. And I don't mean that like, oh, I best you. I mean,
It was
I got,
the last couple of years of my youth.
I got the best of Chris because I feel like I was here when you were 4th degree, you got your 5th degree. And then that was when like we were getting ready for Worlds. Like one of the best ways I can really summarize our relationship was you were like, Dino, I'm about to have this super fight with Megaton. I need you to get really good at spider guard. So here's what you need to focus on. And then in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, it's not like, oh, I'm just getting good at this. I'm like, I'm getting good at this for the responsibility to be a good, like, partner for you. And, like, you were still, like, I mean, now you're still smashing everybody, but, like, I feel like it was, like, the peak, like.
It was kind of like, yeah.
It was, like, the wisdom and, like, physical, like, I got you, like,
Yes.
right in, like, the sweet spot that, like, I'm so grateful for.
There's that thing where old man strength starts at about 40 and it peaks at about 48.
Old man strength?
Old man strength.
All right.
It's a real phenomenon.
Okay.
got a proposal.
Does old lady strength work the same way?
I'm
or have I already
sure.
passed my peak?
I'm sure. It probably.
Oh, man, I got to type this to you because I don't want to cut it out.
So we gotta move on to the Q&A.
Oh,
Hit some cues. We gotta get
snaps.
some of our listeners in the mix here, and this all ties in together right here.
Don't say it.
So here's my sick fantasy. You ready for my sick fantasy?
Not quite there yet, Dean.
So Megaton versus Chris happened, right?
Yeah.
Twice?
So there's the Craig
No,
Jones
we've only
Invitational coming up.
Yes.
Craig Jones is on a mission to put on the best jiu-jitsu show, and he wants to have a Legends and Masters, a Legends series within that in some kind of way. I think when Chris becomes a coral belt in the not too far future,
Got
we do
to get in shape.
Chris versus Megaton 2.
Megaton is
Well,
still
no,
Happy
super
CJI
fit.
Invitational.
Super fit. You
Yeah.
can see
The
all
Craig
the
Jones
abs. Look at
Invitational.
what you can
I
see.
gotta
And
get
we'll
in
all
shape.
show up and
I
we'll
need
get
to
him
go
in
on
shape.
TRT.
Hey,
We'll
yeah,
get him on TRT. We'll get him in
No,
shape.
no TRT.
No, I don't
Send
want
him
to
off to the Craig
No
Jones
TRT.
Invitational.
No
No,
TRT.
yeah, I saw Megaton at my old job, and yeah, he's just.
Meg's awesome.
I will say he's looking very. He's been eating his ass out.
I'm just going to say
He's
that
pumped.
out of every training partner I've ever had, Megaton was my favorite one. And the period beat because he would always compete in the Panzer Worlds. When he would come in town, he'd give me a call because like he is a training animal.
Yeah.
He would want to train 2 days before he competes. So
Lucky that he can.
he'd just cruise over to the garage at like 10 p.m. and we would fucking go at it like a solid hour and a half battle.
Hey, but you're better looking than him.
Oh my god.
No.
So, all right,
Stop.
so this leads into
Maybe younger looking.
our viewer question. So Alan at Mighty Mouse 327.
We love you, Alan.
Yeah, we love this guy. So he asks, what are your guys' thoughts and opinions on everything that's happening with ADCC and the Craig Jones Invitational? I know you guys aren't super into the current
Do you have any
competition,
thoughts
but I can
about that?
explain it a little bit.
Yeah,
So
explain
the
that
Craig
to
Jones
us.
Invitational. Craig's changing the environment and incorporating the alley to discourage people from backing up. So basically what they have is a pit.
Yep.
So it's the mat's lower instead of higher, and then it has like 45-degree walls
Yep.
all around it.
And I'm going to say that we had that idea years ago. And
Classic.
And skateboards. Like your fingers.
and Halleck and I discussed that when we were
Because
doing
people fall off the stage.
Metamorphs. And we
Yeah.
talked
Off the
about
stage.
one of the things that we chatted about then, especially Hori and I, was we were going to get those 360 cameras in here and all over and have super fights in the garage where the
We still
athletes
can.
would
John wants to do that.
Let's do it. We're
John
gonna do
wants
it.
to see
Let
some
me finish.
carnage.
all the athletes, you get a text and you now have 35 minutes to show up and then you're escorted in. You have no idea who it is. I'm the ref. I have a camera on my chest so you get that close shot. And Halleck and I talked about this 10 years ago. And the wall's part of the game. And there's 3 sets of rules, and you don't know which one it'll be until you show up on the mat, roll the dice, we're going these rules. And then
Nice.
to introduce a chaos. Because what happens in sport is people adapt to the box they're in. Because
And so
whether you
it's not-
believe it or
yeah.
not, I hate to tell you out in the audience, evolution is real. And we adapt. And cultural evolution's real. the sport adaptation is real. So that was our idea. And look, Craig Jones, I think his idea is fucking awesome. Because
it was your idea.
no, it was. It's
a good idea.
He's the guy who's making it happen because he can.
Yeah.
And you have to have a thing where people can't run from the fight.
Right.
And the stage idea was a cool idea in some ways. When I would ref, I always imagined at the edge of the stage Roman legionnaires holding pikes. So if
They're
you
gonna
fall
die?
off that stage, you are fucking getting speared. And then I would actually think, God, in this age of computer art and AI, you could totally like you could add the after effect of like legionnaires. Because let's face it, guys, grappling is not the most exciting sport to actually watch. You got to build a show. Introduce pro wrestling. That's why they created a show. But my idea, if there's anyone out there in venture capitalist world, is to have garage fights. And it's called Garage Fights. And yes, I had this idea years ago.
We could do it.
It's like the street beefs. Have you seen
Why
street
the hell
beefs on
not? We
YouTube?
got a team.
Yeah.
John.
Wouldn't that be dope?
John's into it.
I think you're a true visionary. I mean, can you just imagine if we had bum fights in today's age?
I know.
And then you have a roll of the dice and you don't know if you're going to fight like a homeless guy or a trained killer?
You
Oh
have
my
no
gosh.
idea like what rules set either. And you know, it might be
the unhoused-
Dobby rules,
unhoused.
might be IB, the JJF rules, might be Chuck's backyard grapple off, amateur MMA rules. Who knows?
That would be epic.
That'd be epic, huh?
Yeah.
And it's all about the camera angles. It's interactive. You can choose camera and zoom in on your own,
Yeah.
or have the
Well, that was like
orchestrated feed from the tech guys.
So they have like when I hung that 360 camera from the
Yes.
ceiling, and you can post those videos to YouTube, and you can watch those on YouTube and choose what you're looking at.
Yeah.
From the one camera.
Yeah.
You don't need the multiple cameras.
It's killer,
You just
huh?
have one in the middle of the room. And you watch the thing on YouTube, and you can choose where you're looking and zoom in and out.
But then imagine if the ref was wearing a lipstick camera
It'd be insane.
and could totally come in and capture
That would be the other angle that you would need
those
to
like
get.
yeah, it would be sick. And I would imagine that while I would be when I was refereeing Henzo and Sakuraba, I couldn't help think, fuck, if I had a camera right now, I would be catching Henzo changing his grip.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm going to look at. And I could have it on, like, I could be like, that's what the audience needs to see right there.
Yeah.
Be sick.
Sweet. So, if Craig Jones is listening, hear my sick fantasy of Chris getting a super fight at CJI for $1 million.
What up, Craig?
$1 million, I'll do it naked. I'll do it
Shit.
naked. Shit.
They're coming up with big prize
I'll
money.
go on
That's
his
the whole
back.
concept.
I'll do it naked.
That's the whole concept. He wants to pay big for the sick shows and make sure.
I like Craig
athletes are
Jones.
paid.
I think out of all the current, like, new school, big grappler names, I definitely think he's like,
He's amazing.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
awesome.
legend. All right. We'll do one other quick cue, and then we'll
Yep.
try to wrap it up
One
because
more quick question.
we're running out of time.
Okay.
All right. So this one's from Foreign.
Foreign.
Oh,
from
Yeah, we
Indonesia.
love you, Foreign. Sumatra.
Yeah.
Sumatra. I love Sumatra.
So Foreign
Good coffee
says,
there, too.
"Dear professors, I'm going to keep it short. How do you maintain your energy level? I mean,
We don't.
Let
It's
him
all show.
finish.
Yeah.
even Chris, after long hour flights, he's still able to teach fully concentrated. When you're bored of teaching, what do you do to gain the hype back? Or maybe when you have a very bad day of teaching. P.S. Indo is waiting for your visit."
Yes, I love Indo. You got to come to Indo. We'll
Yeah.
surf. So
Yeah.
what I do, and this is a trick I learned not formally, but mostly by watching in the military, is you sleep when you can, and when it's time to turn on, you just fucking do it. It's not like, oh, I got to prepare myself. No, you just fucking turn on. If it's time to teach, it's time to teach. If it's time to fight, it's time to fight. No, your life is the preparation. Everything you do is the preparation. I've already prepared for I don't have to cram an arm bar in before I go teach. I already have done that, right? It's accepting that you already know what you're doing, so you just fucking do it.
And I would say, Foreign, and anybody else who's interested, that what Chris does is not for everyone.
That's
With
true.
Chris flies across the world, sleeps, teaches, sleeps, teaches, sleeps, teaches. It's not something that I want to do, is fly around and teach seminars with little sleep. And then, like I'm a type of person that wakes up in the morning, stays up all day and goes to bed at night, which I think many people are. Chris will sleep whenever he can. He might be up till 2 a.m. and then sleep for a little bit and then get up at 9 or 10 and then sleep again sometime later. It's more sporadic. There's no eating schedule. He just eats whenever. It just happens, He might forget to eat and then eat later. So this is Chris's personality, which makes him perfect for this job of traveling around the world and teaching and going on 3 planes to get to Arkansas to teach for an hour.
Well, that was because the plane broke. Right?
I know, but it would have been 2 planes.
Yeah,
but it ended up being 8 hours to get to Arkansas to teach his 2-hour clinic to get on a plane to fly back home. And to me, that's very stress-inducing. And I've talked about that in my own podcast, how my anxiety does not do well. I'm much better with like a regulated regime, and sometimes I can't meet it, but I do jiu-jitsu and I can deal with some chaos, but I can't live my life that way and remain mentally healthy.
I see. So different strokes for different folks.
And I don't have a lot of energy, Foreign.
I think
What about you? How do you recharge to be able to show up to teach like you do?
how I recharge.
Yeah, so his question was like,
He's too young, he don't need to
Well-
do that.
how do you maintain your energy level and like
That
doing all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're teaching skate lessons to kids, you're developing this brand, you're teaching privates, GU, and then you're opening up a new place to, how do you do all that
You're
stuff?
in your 30s,
And then
right?
it's
The
time to
30s
show
are
up.
like killer time. You just turned 30.
I had my 21st birthday here,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, I just turned 30.
Okay, so 30 to like the whole 30s to me is
Yeah.
time when you're able to accomplish so much.
That's prime.
It's
Yeah.
prime
That's your
because you
prime,
have
yep.
like this knowledge and experience, and then you can make shit happen.
You have enough youth to still have youth, and enough wisdom to still have.
And then
Yeah.
you hit 40 and you get fucking tired all the time.
But
And now
ultimately-
you're 45 and it's
Yeah.
like you just want to.
And ultimately, right now, guys, Gen Xers should be running the world.
But we're little kids.
We were the ones who invented the smartphone, are old enough to have wisdom, but young enough to know how to use it. We're not so young. We still remember the Cold War and understand fucking the global dynamics, but we're not so old that we reject the new and adapt. Gen X should be running the
Come on,
world.
Gen X, step up.
But Dean still needs to recharge to show up to teach
How to
classes
recharge,
regardless. So
Dean?
how do you do that?
I don't know about recharge. I will say, definitely growing up on the mats helps with where I've been gassed in this garage twice. One time was when I got Ironman and I had to roll with like however many people back to back, and I
then
saved
you
my
need the last roll.
rolling with you is where I got gassed because like I saved some for everybody. I had a couple memorable moments when it came time to roll with the black belts, but then
But also, one of the things in my Ironmans I do is on that last roll, you think, oh, it's the last roll, I'm done, but you have to sub me.
yeah.
And that's what makes it hard. Because it's not over until I tap.
Yeah. The other time was when I rolled with Connor here, when I competed the day before, had a whole training session, and like I'm about to leave, and Chris is like, "Oh, Connor's showing up," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm so done."
Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
No.
The one
And then
time
first
you came
round,
out
he's
here.
like, "Hey, you want to roll with me?" And I was like, "All right." And I was so pissed because I'm like, if I had anything left in the tank, this would be going so different. But so yeah, I would say definitely have a lifelong journey of jiu-jitsu, and second, get a job in corporate America. Anytime I feel the ounce of like burnt out, I'm like, I am teaching jiu-jitsu right now. I'm not wearing
grateful.
slacks and a button up, having to worry about calling this guy for his P&Ls. Like I'm blasting kids with dodgeballs and, showing some kid who was afraid because he got mugged on his way to his car. Like, yo, this is how you snap someone's arm. Obviously, we talk about control and everything, but yeah, I think it's like a
Attitude.
no, it's like I want to say car runs on water, What's the propulsion system that runs on its own energy?
Had you not asked me, it's not universal. Not self. Oh God, why can't I think of that?
Perpetual?
Perpetual motion machine.
Shout out to
whatever.
John, who said it like 5 times.
Perpetual
But yeah,
motion machine.
It's when you teach, it's
Humans
it's
chasing
perpetual.
it.
You
Nuclear fusion.
yeah. You teach a little bit, and then you have like a minute just to rest your voice while everyone demonstrates or practices, and then it's just like it's impossible not to be hyped when you're on the mats.
And in a spiritual sense, what you got to do is not tap into your own energy, but you tap into the energy of the universe. You tap in the energy of the room.
Yeah.
You let that.
I used
drive
to
you.
make the joke that the jiu-jitsu gods were speaking through me. That I was just like a
Channel.
I am a channel for
Interesting.
the jiu-jitsu gods.
Interesting.
Infinite energy.
All right. We nailed that one. That's some just do it.
Nailed it.
Some get your life organized, and some be grateful. All that to get that energy. That's
right.
good.
That's a good rule of threes right there.
There you go.
One time I did get tired though, was when you did this first release with Magic Como.
Magic
what
kimono?
a beautiful gi that is.
And
Collector's item here.
yeah, I don't know where my booklet is.
That thing's like $500 on eBay.
Well, yeah, if anyone wants to buy one, you gave me one a size too
that's
big,
an
so I have an
A2.
A2. Hit me up in the DMs. This is the super uber Guma, impossible to buy. But when
Magic
one time I
kimono
got
show you
$500.
roll.
one time I got tired
It's
though,
my size.
is when this dropped and you made me sign one of 2,000 of these,
Oh yeah.
and you bought me Wahoo, so I guess that was cool. But I was in that little room right there, and I was like,
We had
one
to fill
of
out all those
2,000,
owner manuals.
two
or
of
something.
2,000.
Why the hell did you do that, Dean?
Because Chris is my
Because
boy.
each of them are numbered.
Yeah.
I know,
And-
but I'm just saying, I wouldn't do that unless you were paying me.
Well, that's
That's
a
because you're my
He bought him
wife.
tacos.
yeah. So this
That's
serial
because
number.
I'm your wife? No. I'm your wife, so I don't get paid. But
Yeah.
if I was Dean, I wouldn't.
So this is
do
a
that.
blank, unnumbered Magic Kimono show your roll. I'm sponsored by Vanguard now, so
And I will
it's
sign
a
it.
size too big. Chris will sign it.
I will sign it.
Hit me up in the DMs.
Chris will sweat on it.
I'm not plugging.
Nice. All right. Well, let's hit our final segment. So, Dean,
Yes, sir.
do you have a fight in mind that you wish you never fought in your life,
Yeah.
Sport or street, right?
or life, or
Or life.
anything?
Okay.
So I've been listening to the Combat Pod. I had to drive to Mammoth and back in the same day, day before yesterday. And I talked to myself for like an hour about how to answer this question.
Nice.
And I thought of some really juicy stories to tell you guys. I got some videos to accompany it. But I wanted to leave with just kind of giving you a non-answer. And I will say, I'm a black belt in Jiu Jitsu. But I'm also a black belt at avoiding the fight. So a lot of kids out there, I want to speak to kind of who are in my shoes that are just trained little killers, green, orange belts. And they're getting bullied at school, and you have the counselors telling them, "Oh, it's so easy, just walk away."
It's not. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
And it's not that at all. And I think we kind of go through two battles whenever someone kind of does pick on us or confronts us. And it's the battle of them, but then it's also the battle of your own ego being like, man, should I handle this guy right now? And understanding that that's the same voice that comes from the insecurity of, can I handle this guy right now?
Yes.
And knowing that, like, you don't need to prove to anyone around you. You don't need to prove to your peers. When you're on the mat, you're getting praise from people that are actually doing the thing. That's something. But I will say, just anytime you are in that sense of, anytime you get into a fight, if you get physically attacked, by all means, defend yourself. Understand distance management and hopefully never even put yourself in that situation. But anytime you are in that there, just really always win that battle within yourself to never have to engage. And after this wraps, I got some crazy street fight videos I want to show you guys that never saw the light of day.
Nice. That's a great answer, man. I like that.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Chris, Melissa,
Thanks, Dean.
my jiu-jitsu
Dino!
mom and dad, Tobin, my
Thanks,
Trader
brother.
Joe shopping partner. Thank you guys so much. Hopefully the gym's up and running. Gracie Jiu Jitsu Long Beach. Check us out. Social media, Dean Wellen. And right now I'm doing a lot of seminars. With all my seminars, I have notes that I provide of every technique that I did, glowing reviews from everybody. So yeah, feel free to help me out. I got a cool background between Gracie University and Haueter. I'm happy to share with the world.
Nice,
Yay.
man. Thanks for coming to the pod. We really appreciate it.
Appreciate you
your
guys.
time, man.
Can we say it?
Pound
1,
that like
2,
button.
3.
Hold on.
I got excited.
All right, let's try the first one. Whenever you're ready.
Go for it.
Pound, like,
You call it. You call it.
Pound, like,
Dean
and
calls it.
subscribe.
Let's do it. 1, 2.
Pound that
like
like
button.
and subscribe.
That was perfect.
One more time.
Oh
Pound
no,
that-
let's roll with that
1,
one.
2, 3. Pound that like button and
Okay.
subscribe.
Pound that
like button?
or
Pound,
pound
just
like
pound, like, subscribe.
Pound-
like and subscribe.
and
Oh,
subscribe.
pound, like, and subscribe.
Pound, like,
Pound,
and
like, and
Okay.
subscribe.
I'm making shit up now.
1, 2, 3.
Pound, like, and subscribe.
subscribe.